Oh, now we're putting on
I'm
an air
doing.
show.
Yeah, I was doing that on purpose. I swear.
Just pirouetting your way through the parking area. I think I've seen him in like a Discord, but I don't like know him.
Okay,
Oh, we're gonna
he's
hit that pole. Oh, that was close.
yeah. Have some faith, bro. Shit, shit,
Oh no.
shit. Yeah, shit. Forgot there were trees behind us too.
Yeah. Hey guys, Casmo here, and today I'm flying with Growling Sidewinder. He also dabbles in DCS and has a small little channel on YouTube with a couple videos here and there, so you should go definitely check him out sometime. But jokes aside, recently GS and I became acquainted, did some flying together in the Huey with a view to get back together, and time has just not been kind to either of us. But we were finally able to sync up for a bit, and I got to put this jet jockey through the majesty of helicopter flight. Enjoy.
Shit. Nope, that's.
Yeah. It happens. So let's just let's work on our pedal control first. How about that? So
Yep.
what I want you to do is start bringing in the collective just a little bit, and I want you to just pay attention to the nose. And at some point, the nose is going to want to start turning on you. When it does that, stop moving the collective. Okay, so just bring it in real slow. You're going to feel the nose, and the aircraft's going to kind of slide on the skids a little bit. There it is right there. Okay, did you feel that?
Yep.
All right, so now you're going to start putting in a little bit of left pedal to counter that. All right, and then as you bring in the collective, just keep bringing in a little bit of left pedal and just work to keep that nose. Pull back on the cyclic. Not terrible. Obviously sliding, but of course you're gonna have a hard time just without an extension, or you know, not a hard time, but easier with a stick extension. There you go. And really, hovering is about understanding you're not driving a car, right? So in a car, you turn left, the car immediately turns left. Helicopters, there's just a little bit of lag. So when you're sliding like this and you put in that cyclic, it doesn't instantaneously make you do what you want it to do. And so you end up putting in too much.
Right.
So
I can't get it to stop going backwards right now.
That's alright. Oh no.
Shit, dude.
Alright, put the cyclic forward just a little bit. There you go, there you go. A little bit left pedal, a little bit left pedal. There you go, there you go, there you go. Fuck yeah.
Alright, yeah.
And your sight picture is just going to feel weird, and that's why you're going backwards. The nose is going to be a little bit lower than what you think it should be. There we go. And really, it's a game of looking out, right? So just, it's... You know what motion parallax is?
No.
Okay, so you know how you're sitting at a stop sign, and the car next to you moves,
yeah.
and it makes you think that you're moving? Yeah, same thing. So you want to be using, see all these bushes and shit out here? Like, that's great stuff to reference off of. And you want to have a couple different reference points that you're just kind of paying attention to, and that's going to give you your understanding of movement. You know, it's just like flying in formation. You know, if you're flying straight trail behind somebody, it's hard to tell your relationship to them, right? It's hard to tell if you're closing or going away. So you fly a little bit to the side, you get that exposure. It's the same kind of concept. All right, now just ease back on the cyclic and bring the collective down just a little bit. All right, a little bit of right pedal. Try to land in that parking area right off to our nose there.
Yep.
All right. There you go. Nice and controlled. See the speed that we're going? This is what we want. You gotta crawl before you walk, so there's no shame in taking a long ass time to land. And just keep that aircraft going forward. So you just want to keep going forward and down, forward and down. There you go. Left pedal. This is what we call the anti-gravity pads. Everybody can hover until it's time to land on something. And suddenly everybody's zipping all around. There you go. Just put it down.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was the best one I've ever done.
All right, tell you what. Let me
Still.
try. All right, I'm just bringing a little bit of collective. All right. All right, and I just waiting for the nose to come. There it is, and I'm just gonna start applying pedal as I'm bringing in the collective. And it's, you know, it just takes time to figure out that relationship between the collective and the pedals. You know, how much torque you're trying to counter, because that's all you're trying to do. All right, so when we take off, I haven't even moved the collective. I'm just nosing it forward. Haven't moved the collective 1 inch. Not even a millimeter. That is all cyclic right there. Just cyclic and pedal. I'm just barely moving the cyclic, as you can see.
Yeah.
Left. And when I'm turning, you know, you take a look at the altimeter and, you know, to double check that you're not climbing or descending. But I'm not, notice I'm not pulling back on the cyclic. You know, I'm actually kind of pushing it forward, if anything, so I can keep my airspeed up. I'm not trying to do these hairpin turns like it's an F-16 or something. I want to keep that airspeed
that's what I love to do.
Yeah, exactly, and that's going to be your muscle memory, because that's, you know, that's your love language, and that's what you are used to doing. But I want to keep that airspeed up. All right, so yeah, and I haven't even really moved the collective at all. All right, so I want to land at that junction right there. Let's see if I can do it. So I'm going to bring out collective, take it out. I'm going to pull back on the cyclic, and I'm just trying to match, you know, what the collective is doing for me and what the cyclic can do for me. Probably a little bit too aggressive on that. Plus, I hate flying in the left seat. It's always weird looking to me.
Yeah.
Or a little bit short, but... So what I mean is... How do I explain this? The collective, obviously, is giving you, you know, your lift, right? So it's creating lift by changing the blades. Your cyclic is creating airspeed, and you understand trading altitude for airspeed and trading airspeed for altitude, right? I mean, you do it in the fighters and all that stuff all the time. It's the same concept. So when we take collective out, if we don't do anything with the cyclic, pick it up. All right, so I'm not really doing anything with the cyclic. I'm just pulling in torque, just bringing the collective all the way up. That's all that's going to happen. And then inversely, if I just take it all out, we're just going to fall. Over. All right, so now I'm going to hold collective. I'm going to set it and forget it. All right, my hand's not even on the collective anymore. And I'm just doing all this with cyclic, but I want to climb. I'm going to pitch up, and I'm going to climb. And for a time, I will, right? And then I'm going to run out of airspeed, then I'm going to basically stop.
Right.
And the same concept as I dive. I mean, all the stuff you know. All I'm trying to do is match and counter those different forces. So as I'm taking collective out, I'm pulling back on the cyclic just a little bit, because I'm trading my airspeed for altitude. Because if I took the collective out, what's going to happen to my altitude? I'm going to lose it. So, but I've got all this airspeed, so I'm going to trade that airspeed while I'm pulling the collective out to counteract the loss of altitude. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if I explained that well, but basically whatever altitude I'm losing from lowering my collective, I want to regain by trading in that airspeed and pulling my cyclic back. And you just can't be aggressive about it. You just got to be, you know, gentle. I mean, eventually you can be aggressive, but once you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And we just want to keep going forward and down, forward and down, forward and down, and then touchdown. And what are you paying attention to right now? What are you looking outside at?
The ground, really?
Yeah, it's just everything, right? Just taking it all in. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, take it off. All right, so your collective's in a good position. You don't even really need to mess with it.
Okay, I've taken my hand off of it.
Okay.
Try to practice not screwing with it.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, if I can just get it on the runway, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Trust me, all these things you are feeling, I have felt too. So everyone goes through it. I have seen aircraft trying to hover and just you feel like the nose is pointing straight up into space and the tail's gonna bounce off the ground.
Uh-huh.
Go, just forward and down. And it's okay if it slides a little bit, right? Like, we don't have wheels, but we have skids, and that's okay.
All right.
All right, let me take the controls real quick. I'll show you something. All right. And the reason you'll hear me say forward and down all the time is because right here we're hovering, and that's a different skill than flying forward, right? And so what happens is that you get to this point where you're transitioning from forward flight to hovering, and sometimes the brain doesn't catch on to that as quickly, right? It can be a little bit challenging. Even for me at my hour level, there were times where I'd be zipping around for hours, and then I come in to hover behind some trees, and I'm like, whoa, this just feels wrong, you know?
Right.
Forward and down, the aircraft, you know, it wants to go forward, and you don't really want to mess around with hovering. Now, because we have skids, it's okay. I mean, we can slide onto this ground, so we're just gonna come in fast. I just want to keep lane alignment. I'm gonna let those skids just grind. Right, and I'm gonna leave my collective up basically until we stop, and now I'm gonna bring the collective down. All right, so I'm gonna bring it back up. So if that helps you too, don't be afraid to do that with your landing. So let's just work on picking it up and taking off relatively forward. And I think part of your problem is you have a tendency to slide to the right. I think that's just because you're sitting on the right side of the aircraft and it just looks funny to you.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering why I kept doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be you're just a shit pilot, but I don't think that's it.
Yeah, I've heard of a loft problem. Have you heard that before?
The loft problem? No, I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's a lack of fucking talent.
Yeah, it could be. No, I think because even I have this problem flying in the Kiowa for years and years. It still was just weird to be on the right side of something. You know, you're always trying to like your brain wants to center on something, and with the dashboard being what it is, it just you know it might be kind of screwing you up just a little bit because you're not used to it. I mean, I always found left turns harder, you know, sitting in the right seat. It's just not just because I couldn't see, but it just felt weird.
Right.
Right, good alignment. Pick your spot and just work on that trading, the collective, and cyclics. Looking good. You're gonna get squirrely here at the bottom because the aircraft's gonna want to hover. So just keep it forward and down, forward and down. There you go. Cushion, cushion, cushion. I think we broke it.
Yeah, that's kind of hard, no?
Oh yeah, we broke off one of the. Oh, it's kind of stupid. That wouldn't have broken off, but we'll jump into it.
Oh, we left the tail.
But that wasn't terrible. I mean, the only thing you did wrong there is just not enough cushion at the bottom, not enough collective to stop our rate of descent.
So, you add a little bit in that situation, and then just counter with the rudder, right? Counter the torque.
Yeah. So, right, because when you bring in a lot of power quickly, you're gonna ramp up that torque. So you're gonna have to be ready to put in a lot more pedal, more aggressively.
Sure.
I mean, you were fine. It's just our rate of descent. I didn't look at it, but it was it was a couple 100 feet per minute.
Right.
And these things they don't absorb shock.
So, in order to counteract the sliding to the right, should I put in a little bit of left cyclic?
Absolutely.
Just to
Yep.
try to,
Right off the get-go. Yep. There you go. See, that nose wants to pitch back.
Yeah.
When you start getting, that's because you're getting into translational lift, and the rotor system is becoming more efficient, but only in certain places, right? Because the blades are coming from your right to the nose back around to me, which means the disc on the right side of the aircraft is more aerodynamically efficient than the blades on the left, right? Does that make sense to you?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So because of gyroscopic precession and things acting on other things 90 degrees later in a gyroscope, I don't know, it's science that I don't really understand. Basically, your blades on the right side are more efficient, but that efficiency doesn't kick in until 90 degrees later. So they become efficient in front of us, which then causes the nose to pitch up. And so that's why when we take off, we got to be ready for that, and we got to just keep nosing the cyclic over. The same thing happens with your tail rotor. When it suddenly gets to that good clean air, it becomes more efficient, which means the thrust coming out of it is going to be greater, which means it's going to push the nose harder than it was before. That's why hovering and flying in flight are, there is a definitive point where those two things feel very different. And if you don't understand that, it can get ugly. Go. That's a good entry right there. That's a good speed. Now you might need to nose it forward a little bit just to maintain that speed. And you want basically like a brisk walk is what you kind of want to feel like your speed is. So bringing in a little bit of cyclic. A little bit of collective.
Oh. Oof, I didn't counter it exactly as much as I wanted to, but yeah.
Right. Here, let me show you something. All right. Okay. Make sure your control enter thing is up again.
Yep.
And all right, so I want you to notice my collective position once I get to a good hover here. All right, notice how it's pretty high, right? I mean, it's in the top, 80. Let's say that's 80%. All right. Now let me get flying here. I'm gonna take some of that power out, and we're flying, right? I mean, we're at a stable altitude. We're going 50 knots. I'd like to go a little bit faster. Going 60 knots. Climbing a little bit. That's okay. All right. So we're basically cruising right now. My collective is lower than it was, right?
Yep.
That's because I don't need as much power, because again, it goes back to what I was saying. The blades are more efficient. And I think this is what trips a lot of people up, is you've got to understand that there's a point where I want to land, so I want to go down. Well, then I need to take collective out. I got it. I'm not going to argue that. So in order for me to land, I have to start removing collective. But just like I said, for me to hover, I've got to have power back in. So at some point, I've taken this power out, but I got to start bringing it back in. And notice right now I'm sneaking into collective. I'm bringing it up, and already I'm back at basically hover power, right?
Oh shit, I get it. And is that's because of the air that's already been moved by the helicopter? It's not as efficient, right?
There's a point.
There's not as much air.
Exactly. There's going to be a point, and that point is really dictated by an airspeed, right? So I told you about that effective translational lift. That happens between like 16 and 28 knots, somewhere in there. So as we're decelerating and descending, we're going to pass through that effective translational lift. And at that point, whatever power setting you had is not enough, because now you're trying to essentially hover. See, a lot of people think we're hovering right now, and we are, but technically we're hovering right now too, because we're below ETL. And we're still hovering, right? And I still need all that power to maintain my hover. So I'm going to take off again. I'm going to push the cyclic. See the dashboard shaking. That's the effective translational lift happening. So the airframe, or the rotor system, is becoming more efficient now. And I haven't touched the collector, but notice how we're going up now. It's because the rotor's more efficient. I haven't added any power. It's just a better rotor system now.
Oh, dude, that explains so many things.
All right, so now we're going to come back around right. A little bit harder, just because I want to get lined up. All right, so flying, I'm in a very efficient rotor system. I can start taking some power out because I want to land, and start trading back some of my airspeed for altitude, just to Not make it so dramatic. Alright, but now my airspeed, so my airspeed's at about 40 knots now. I'm going to start sneaking in the power, because I don't need it to keep descending, but I'm going to need it here at the bottom. I'm going to start bringing in power, and there's our ETL. We're coming up on ETL, and there it is right there. And I've already brought my power back up to a point where I'm comfortable that, you know, I can hover, or I can just let it come on down to the ground.
Right, I get it. So this is why I have such little control at the end. It's because I don't feed more power in.
And we're descending from a pretty low altitude, so there's not a lot of time to kind of see that. But if you started from like 1,000 feet, you would have to take quite a bit of collective out. But once you started that descent, you wouldn't need all that collective out anymore. And in fact, you probably shouldn't, because you'll start falling through. But you want to start sneaking that power in early, so that when you do get to that around 40, 30 knots, that you're almost at hover power. And then you blast on through ETL, and you don't have to suck the guts out of it.
Right.
Because that's where you're going to screw it up, right? If you get down to 30 feet, 20 knots, and you don't have a lot of power in, and all of a sudden you pull that power in, your torque is going to spike, and you may not be able to control the nose, and that's not a good time to not control the nose. All right, clear left and right. Left side, there you go. A little bit more. And it sucks because you're probably fighting a spring or something, so
yeah,
it's a little bit more challenging. And again, as your rotor system is becoming more efficient, and you decide I don't want to climb, well then just nose it over a little bit and just trade that power for airspeed. You know, just picture a big arrow sticking out of the top of our rotor system, and you get to decide which way that arrow goes. Does it go up or does it go forward? And as you nose the cyclic forward, that big arrow starts pointing a little bit more forward. And what you want to do is find that sweet spot where the arrow is giving you just enough lift to stay in the air and just enough airspeed to get you where you're going. And that's the thing with helicopters. It's very little displacement of the cyclic. You know, you're making fractional movements. Ease back on the cyclic. Try to get airspeed. Start bringing in that power. Back on the cyclic. And then if that happens right there where you balloon up, you know, you can just take some collective out and then pull it right back in, right? You can just modulate the collective as much as you need. Anti-gravity runway. Right, lane alignment.
Ah, shit. Damn it. Yeah, one of the things I noticed, I don't really have my feeding in collective and the amount of like pedal I put in, they're not really synced up right now.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it takes time.
Goes. Yeah.
Yeah, it is all time. I mean, in flight school, we did our first solo, I want to say around 16, 17 hours. So, I mean, you spend a lot of time with an instructor, and alright, we're well above 1,000. Alright, so we'll do it from up here. It'll be a little bit more pronounced as far as the collective. I want to land at that middle taxiway there. So I've got a good about 20, 30 degrees approach path, and I'm taking collective out. I'm just easing back on the cyclic just a little bit, just control my airspeed. I want my airspeed to be around 60, 50 knots. Collective's out. And if I feel like I'm overshooting, I'm going to pull back on the cyclic a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit more collective out. I got plenty plenty altitude. Alright, so now I'm getting back on glide slope. So I'm going to start bringing that power back in just a little bit. And I'm just kind of modulating. I take a little bit out. I pull a little bit back in. I'm just keeping one eye on my airspeed and my altitude. So now I'm getting a little slow, which happens in the Huey, I think, excessively. So I'll start bringing power back in as I get to that point. Now I'm getting close to it, so now I gotta start bringing that power in. Bite the pedals. A little bit ugly, but survivable. And just cushion. And it's just a lot of feeling, right? It's a lot of, you feel like the aircraft is about to do something, and so you sort of preemptively put in some sort of control input. I mean, you're doing the right things. It's just a matter of, you just got to keep doing them. You know what I mean? You just got to keep doing it until you get it right, and then until you can't get it wrong.
Right. And I think, dude, I think I don't have a fundamental understanding of the physics of how a helicopter works.
Sure.
So having you explain these things is actually pretty fucking helpful, to be honest.
All right, well, we'll do one more, and then we'll do something different, just because give your brain a rest. Looking good. Shallow approach, but that's okay. Go, just judge that rate of closure, start bringing back the cyclic.
Overshot.
That's alright. Let's get it in this box. Slide it on. Oh!
Ugh. Shit. Dude, I couldn't judge the depth there.
Yeah.
I thought we were so much lower. Shit.
Alright, we're just gonna hover close to the trees. Sort of use that as a point of reference. Just kind of use those trees to help you understand your movement. Now when you're comfortable, just try and get a little bit closer to them. Whatever visual cues help you. Bushes, the trees, the fence, the road, whatever it is that you're kind of just looking at, just sort of take it all in. But what you don't want to do is stare. So if you're staring at one of those trees, don't do it. Just force yourself to look a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. Hey, the first time I hovered good was my instructor told me to go to look at something that was happening while I was trying to hover, and I was hovering just like you are, just flopping all over the place.
Yeah.
And some other aircraft was doing something, and he's like, hey, look at those guys. And I looked at them and was watching them, and suddenly I just hovered. And then he said, look, you're doing it. And as soon as he said that, I was right back to what you're doing right now. I mean, literally in flight, we can't do it in DCS, unfortunately, but, you know, in flight school, they would literally put you out somewhere at a hover and say, okay, you have the pedals. Keep the nose of the aircraft pointed at that tree, and I will control everything else. And
Right.
so you just go through each control separately. And you still, you know, you still can't do it. It's still terrible. It would be cool if we could do that in DCS, but I can't imagine coding something like that. There you go. Nice. Very good. So what's your favorite jet to fly?
Whatever gets the job done, man. Right? Depends what you're trying to do.
Well, for dogfighting and everything, it seems to be your shtick. Like the Hornet or the F-16, which is your favorite?
The Hornet, just because it's so OP, bro.
Yeah, it is.
It's the cheat aircraft for dogfighting. So, although there's something about the Tomcat I like, man. I like having to wrestle that thing into compliance.
Yeah, I need to learn it. I've got it, and I've flown it a little bit, but not good at it.
Yeah, it's hard, man. And then if you don't fly it for a couple of weeks, you basically start all over again.
That's exactly been my problem.
Yeah.
I've just started getting back into the A10 a little bit, but I don't have the time to be smart on all these aircraft, so.
Yeah.
Plus, when I know the Heinz around the corner, I'm just kind of biding my time. See how much better you're hovering? You're just chatting away.
Because I was just talking to you. Why'd you say
exactly.
that, dude? You're gonna fuck me up.
Exactly. I wanted to prove the point.
Shit.
Oh, we're going balls to the wall now. You're like, fuck it, I got it. Going into the hangar.
Yeah. Like a sink or swim situation.
Right,
You know?
yeah.
Do or die.
Well, I mean, you're holding your altitude goods, and Lord knows this is big enough, so. I mean, you saw me going to that small one that one time, so.
Yeah.
Dragging the skids.
Try to come in here.
Yeah.
Like, if he can go into that thing, I can come into this thing.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
It's all right. It's all right.
Uh-oh.
No, it's not all right.
It's not all right. It's about to not be all right. Just slide to the left. Slide to the left. Just slide us out of there. The blade.
We're leaving.
Oh, slide to the left. Oh, my God. I was literally leaning in my chair. And you're getting better about your directional control, your yaw, so.
Yeah, these pedals are definitely, I guess the way I should phrase it is the old pedals were definitely 50% of the problem. Did not like them at all.
Now we're barnstorming.
Oh shit. Oh. Damn.
Oh, Christ.
I swear I cleared that. Damn.
Well, you did clear it. We just... not all of it. Not all of us cleared it. Oh, we're gonna hit that pole. Oh, that was close.
Yeah. Have some faith, bro.
Oh, oh, ye of little faith.
Okay, make it in between there? Nope. Oh, ye of little faith. Look how big that is. Oh. Oh, I've got it.
I'm gonna have to put a motion sickness warning on this video. We can land 3 of these on here. See if we can land 1 of them.
Did I do it?
You... Wow. Have you F2'd?
Yeah. Holy shit.
I don't know what I'm looking at, but you've made room for at least 2 more. Yeah. No, I mean, there was a definite improvement in the past hour. Or whatever we've been doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think better than even last time that we did this, so.
Yeah, I mean, last time was your just straight up first time, wasn't it? I mean, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Flopping all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think too, the light switched on for you when we talked about that needing that power at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I'll send you a link to one of my videos because I talked about that. And I kind of drew it out on a sketch pad and stuff, and I know a lot of people kind of commented that it was eye-opening. But I think that's what gets people is they just don't understand. Like, there is a point where you've got to understand that I need 80% to hover, but I only need 60% to fly. So where do I make that transition point where, because I need 60 to fly, well then shit, to descend I need what, 50, 40? Right, so I'm already taking a lot out, but I've got to make up that difference. And if you try to make it up at the bottom, you're going to over torque, you're going to cause the aircraft to spin. Because here, I'll pick up real quick. All right, so I'm going to pick up the aircraft very gently with my collective, and I'm able to counter it with my pedal, and we can maintain alignment. All right, so now let's set it back down. I'm just going to yank the collective up. What happens? And it may not replicate it very well, but I'm going to yank it up. See, we've asked the engine to do too much, and that's why our rotor undersped, because the engine just wasn't ready for us to do that. You know, there's a delay, because what you're doing, all you're doing when you raise the collective is you're changing the pitch of the blades. The blades, because you've increased the pitch, it's just like pushing your hand through water. If you slice your hand through water, it spins just fine. If you put your hand flat through water, it takes more energy to push those blades. So that's what's happening, is when we pull up on the collective, we're pushing our flat hand through the water. It's taking more energy. The engine doesn't know that until it's too late, right? The blades are like, hey man, I need more energy because I'm going to start slowing down.
Right. So the engine is reacting to what the blades need.
Exactly.
Which is what causes a little bit of lag.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, your collective is not necessarily tied to your engine. It's really just tied to the rotor speed. And shit, I mean, we've got it easy because in reality, back in the day, they had manual throttle. And so if you look down at your collective where your hand is, you would have to turn that to regulate the fuel flow while increasing the collective.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah, we would have to do that in a Kiowa as an emergency procedure because if we lost our FADEC, our digital electronic control for fuel flow, the system would default to that, and you would have like 4 seconds to make that adjustment. And so all of a sudden you're fat, dumb, and happy flying around, and all of a sudden this weird beeping happens. You got to instantly move your hand to get the throttle to the right position, because if it's too high, your rotor is going to start speeding up. And you've either got to take some fuel out of it, or you've got to increase the collective to change the pitch of the blades to catch more of that air to slow them down, if that makes sense. So yeah, and I mean, that's how guys used to fly, just all the time. So we have it easy. All we do is we just set the fuel flow to 100%, and then the computer basically takes over, and it just says, okay, the boss wants, I want to keep the blades at 100%. That's all the computer knows. And then the computer says, well, the boss just pulled in a lot of collective that's underspeeding the rotor. I gotta put more juice into the system. Well, there's a lag that happens there, and so that's how guys are getting into trouble. So anyway, all right.
Well, I mean, dude, this is beyond helpful. The shit that you taught me here in what, 1 hour, 2 hours, is not stuff that I could have learned in years probably on my own. So
Well, cool, man. Yeah,
very, very helpful.
Well, I'm by no means a master instructor, but I've taught enough to know you can find a common language. GS is smart enough about airplane flying to make these fundamentals stick, and he did a great job in the short period of time we flew together. Looking forward to working with him again in the future, as we have some plans in the works, so keep an eye out for that. Again, check out Growling Sidewinder's channel on YouTube, and if you haven't already, please subscribe here and follow me on Twitch. Lastly, check out my podcast, The Low Level Hell, available wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys later.
You can find him, put a SPI on.